So, Ramnathji, before we start, just to give you a small background of this initiative that we started
Right.
approximately a month back, we started this initiative. So, this is an initiative by the Mentors of Change Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog,
Yeah,
where
I know.
he's also part of it, and he's the one who is heading the West Zone for all of us. So
Right.
we thought of to start these, and we have split this in two segments. One is for the COVID-19, and gradually we will be moving toward the innovation side.
Yes.
That was the idea, and the videos are also going to be shared with the schools. The idea is, people like you, when you are giving certain insight, so the next generation entrepreneurs or the next generation smart thinkers mind are expected to be ignited, and that's how we can think about India 2.0. That was the
That
idea.
is too ambitious a statement to make, but let us hope. Let us try.
Let's see, let's have some try. At least we are working with the school, so we are always kind of ambitious.
Yeah.
We are quite, in fact, we always believe that the next generation is always smarter than us. And
Yeah.
right now,
Right.
we are seeing that students are coming up with so innovative ideas. That is a learning for all of us also.
You are right.
So thank you for the audience. A quick introduction of Dr. Ramnath Sonawne. He is the current secretary at Maharashtra Water Resource Regulation Authority, and he was the ex-CEO of Smart City Nagpur. He was also the commissioner of Kallan Dombivli Municipal Corporation. It's a very brief bio of Dr. Ramnathji. He has been doing some tremendous work. Ramnathji, if you can spend few minutes to give us some background of you, probably that will be fantastic for the audience.
I think this introduction is enough. I have near about 30 plus years of experience in urban management, and yeah, I started my career as a lecturer in English. That too, I used to teach business communication to the students of commerce. So this is more than enough. As I go on talking, I think the audience will understand
Sure.
and the kind of knowledge and experience that I have to share with them.
Sure. Thank you. So before I go ahead with the first question is note of thanks to all the supporters, NMIMS, IIT Kharagpur, Radcliffe Life Science and the European Medical Association, International Association of Medical, Basic and Social Scientists, Dronalaya and UPICO, a PSU set up by government of UP. So we are working and they have been supporting us a lot. So my first question to you, Dr. Ramnathji, as I was telling that this video is also going to be shared with the schools so that the technicality of these sessions will try to reduce so that even the kids can understand. And as you
Yes.
rightly said, we are quite ambitious about the India 2.0 and the kind of, the school kids and all. So the smart, I will start with the smart city. Now, this is something everybody, whether it's a kid or an old age person, everybody knows about the smart city. But unfortunately, if you ask about, people are aware about the smart gadgets, but people are not aware what happens exactly in the smart city. The people who understand this, but the kind of kids they are listening, but there is nobody who can actually talk about what is. So if you give some kind of background about when you talk about the smart city, what is the kind of smart solution you are thinking, right? It will be quite helpful from the school's point of view, because once they understand the background of the smart city, there will be, I'm sure there will be coming up with a lot of innovative ideas which can be part of the indigenous solution, which we'll be talking later.
Right. So the process of urbanization uh, has a long history. Uh, Prior to independence, there were cities. Even in old days, there were cities called nagars. So the cities are in existence. The process of urbanization is now getting momentum, and if we speak in terms of world, now more than 50% of the population lives in urban areas globally. And in case of India, the percentage near about 31% population staying in urban areas. But in Indian context, when we talk about urbanization, you see, we only see cities as number one, education hub, number two, health hub, and number three, a city which is an engine of growth, which provides employment opportunities. So for education, health, and employment, these are three important aspects of urbanization. This rural-urban migration is a continuous process. And from rural areas, people come to urban areas basically for these three reasons. So Government of India launched a smart city mission in June 2015. The mission has a very broad objective, and that is to improve the standard of living of the people staying in urban areas. So initially, Government of India selected 100 smart cities, out of which 8 cities are from Maharashtra. And I'm fortunate, I have worked in Nagpur Smart City, a special purpose vehicle, that is Nagpur Smart and Sustainable City Development Corporation Limited. So if we see the components of the smart city mission, there are basically two components. There are basically two components. The first component is area-based development, which focuses on physical and social infrastructure like road, water supply, sewerage system, schools, hospitals. So this physical and social infrastructure is to be provided in a selected part of the city and to be implemented as a pilot project in those 100 smart cities. Each city was asked to prepare a proposal wherein for first component there were three options. One, greenfield development. Second, redevelopment. And third, retrofitting. So these are the terms which when we talk about town planning, normally when there are vacant lands and when we build infrastructure along with buildings, it is called greenfield development. Redevelopment means in old cities, you demolish old structures and create new structures. That is redevelopment. And retrofitting is, as far as possible, we retain the existing structures and with smart interventions, we provide smart infrastructure. Like we widen the roads, strengthen the roads, we provide footpaths, we provide better utilities, better services like water supply and sewerage, better open spaces, public spaces, gardens, schools. So that is retrofitting. So first component deals with physical and social infrastructure, which is called area-based development. And second component, which we should focus on today, is basically pan-city solution, wherein the solution has to be implemented in the entire city. So all 100 cities have to implement that solution, which is basically information communication technology based solution. So this solution, information communication technology based solutions, are being implemented in all 100 smart cities. So what do? We have to create IT infrastructure. That means every city has to install a surveillance system in the city for detection and control of crime, at the same time for intelligent traffic management, and even other aspects also like health, and as I said, physical and social infrastructure that can also be monitored through information communication technology. So today in administration, if you see whether it is rural or urban, information communication technology is going to play a vital role, and it is going to be the backbone of administration. So we install a surveillance system. That means we have our own network, fiber network, OFC fiber network. We install CCTV surveillance cameras with automatic number plate, ANPR and RLVD, red light violation detection systems, and facial recognition system. ANPR and RLVD camera help you for intelligent traffic management, and FRS camera help you to identify a person, especially a criminal, if his history data is available. And that entire feed taken from various cameras installed at various junctions. The feed is received at the command and control center. We have command control centers in each city. So the feed received from camera is stored, that is analyzed, and incidence is created to act upon that particular incidence. Say, for example, if there is an accident, so it is captured in camera. So immediately, what should happen? The information should go to police and traffic department. The information should also go to the hospital, wherein people should be ready to treat the persons who are injured in that accident. And the information should also go to the civic authority. So the information, the images captured in camera, they are analyzed. Today, what is happening? You see, if there is an accident on road, someone watches it, dials number 100, or calls police or calls hospital, then the ambulance reaches, and then the injured persons are taken to hospital. Herein, we have AI based system, artificial intelligence based systems, wherein something is already defined, it is captured in camera, incidence is created, and accordingly it is reported to the people who are supposed to take action. So the command control center functions like a brain of a person. It is the brain of the city. It functions like a brain. It gives instructions, like brain gives instructions to our body parts, to our body. Likely, the command control center gives instructions to all the persons who are supposed to take action, who are supposed to respond to that particular incident. So this is the second component, PAN city solution, wherein information communication technology based interventions are required. So various solutions are required for each activity, for each sub activity or activity. There are various solutions. So you need solutions to deploy. And then what people need to do? People, either with their smartphones or smart gadgets, they can actually connect with the government. This is a communication channel open for citizen to connect with the government, or this is the channel open for the government to communicate with the citizens, what we call citizen to government, G2C or C2G. So that is the second component of a smart city.
Great. Great. I'm taking a cue from your answer. So when we are talking, so you have given broad elaboration from a student's point of view. You know, even I can visualize what the kind of flow or what the kind of requirement this has. Now, if I categorize in the multiple, like in the smart city, there will be a smart energy, smart mobility,
Right.
smart water, smart public services. We were talking about hospitals and all, smart
Yes.
building, smart integration. So everything is smart.
Yes.
Now, the thing is that if you are aiming to have a smart city, now cities are already existing. That means you are talking about a non-smart city to convert to a smart city. One side you have told that there are 100 cities which got this kind of understanding. So
Yes.
if 100 cities got selected, what were the basis? What are the kind of parameters you all worked upon so that these are the one? Because end of the day, if city 1 has been selected, city 2 has not been selected, there might be certain differentiate parameters.
Yeah, you are right. You see, in India there are more than 4,000 cities. In Maharashtra, also we have more than 300 cities, and we have near about 26 big cities like municipal corporations, and few metro cities like Mumbai, Pune, and Nagpur. So three metro cities, near about 23 municipal corporations, total 26 municipal corporations, and 300 A, B, and C class municipal corporations, municipal councils. So why Government of India selected only 100 cities only, and why not all 4,000? So this is to be implemented in a mission mode. You see, urbanization, as I said earlier, is ongoing process, and all 4,000 cities cannot be taken up at a single call for development, because huge investment is required. So therefore, Government of India selected only 100 cities, directed them to submit their proposals. The proposals were scrutinized based on the guidelines issued by the Ministry of Urban Development, Housing and Urban Development. And then each year, Government of India selected 20 cities. In last 5 years, Government of India has selected more than 100 cities now. Even though initially number was fixed to 100, now there are 113 cities selected under this Smart City mission. And as per the mission guidelines, each city is going to get 500 crores from central government as assistance, financial assistance, 250 crores from each state. The state will have to contribute 250 crores. The urban local body will have to contribute 250 crores. So a corpus of near about 1,000 crores is provided to each city to provide physical and social infrastructure under the area-based development component, and at the same time to provide ICT-based solutions under that PAN city solution, PAN city component. So why 100? The answer is very simple. Due to paucity of funds, initially Government of India selected only 100 cities and decided to implement pilot projects in those cities. So these cities are also not totally covered. For area-based development, 100% city is not covered. Only part of the city is covered. So once the pilot is successful, it can be replicated in the same city and some other cities also across the country.
Great. So the pilot of 100, it was a random selection, or also there was certain back-end rubrics work that, like fund and other kind of facilities which were already available, and the cities were more like a low-hanging fruit in terms of the convertible to the smart city. So the pilot started with those, and gradually we will be go to the other cities which will be slightly tougher in terms of the implementation.
There were some criteria. You see, basically population was one criteria. Second, the level of existing infrastructure in the city, both physical infrastructure and IT infrastructure, that was also measured. And third, the importance of that city in creating job opportunities for the people, because you see, employment is basic problem here, and we often say cities are engines of growth. So these were few criteria for selecting those 100 cities. But population and availability of physical and IT infrastructure was the most important criteria.
Great. So I'm taking same thread. So a city like Mumbai or Delhi, which is slightly on the upper side of it, versus a smart city, or a small city which you are thinking is not as good as Mumbai or Delhi, but it's a city which can be convertible to smart. What will be the key differentiated factors of these cities?
There is hardly any difference. Normally, when we talk about a smart city, or when people perceive a smart city, they perceive only infrastructure. Only infrastructure, that means only big roads, tall buildings. It is not a smart city. Most important component of a smart city is the IT infrastructure available in the city and use of that IT infrastructure by citizens. So again, here I will say the distinction between a smart city and non-smart city, there is very, very thin line. Other city which is not selected under smart city can also be a smart city if the government and citizens use technology there for their day-to-day communication, use technology for providing better services, use technology to upgrade the standard of living of the citizens. So there is hardly any difference between a smart city and non-smart city. For example, Mumbai initially was selected under smart city mission, but Mumbai Municipal Corporation did not participate in that mission, saying that the corpus that will be given by central government and state government will be hardly 750 crores, which is a peanut out of their budget. Their budget is more than 30,000 crores. So for them, getting 750 crores was not that much important. So Mumbai Municipal Corporation did not participate. Even New Mumbai Municipal Corporation did not participate.
Great. So It's quite clear that smart cities have definitely certain advantage than the other cities in terms of surveillance and the connectivity and all,
Right,
as
right.
you rightly say. And let me connect with the kind of situation of the pandemic right now, what is happening.
COVID,
In
yes.
terms of COVID, we are talking about the surveillance, we are talking about the connectivity, right? The people are not even aware where the beds are, some work is happening. So there are a lot of chaoses going on. So do you feel the smart city is more relevant post COVID?
Uh, Certainly, again, you see, due to availability of IT infrastructure, the smart cities can respond in a better and faster way to the needs of the citizens, to, to the needs of the people who are suffering from COVID. They have developed smart apps wherein even government of India has come out with smart app like Arogya Setu. So wherein a citizen can provide his information, and if he is symptomatic, then he can connect with that local body, and he will come to know. He doesn't have to go to that hospital or the office of the local body. From the app itself, he will come to know in which hospital bed is available. So all that he has to do is to register on Arogya Setu app and to connect with the service provider, that is urban local body or the state government, for treatment. So again, citizen has to be IT savvy. He has to use his mobile phone or the electronic gadget that is available with him for connecting with the government and for getting information about everything. So whether even he can himself judge whether he is symptomatic or not non-symptomatic. So that Arogya Setu app provides you all the details. So if you don't have fever, if you don't have cold and cough, then you need not worry about it. All that you need to do is to find out regularly, to check your temperature, to check your body oxygen level, which again thermometer and pulse oximeters which are available with people right now, which are available in market. So people can treat themselves at home, and those who are in need of treatment in a hospital, they can get information whether the bed is available or not, whether oxygen facility or ventilator facility is available in that particular hospital or not, whether if he has to go to that hospital, then what is the mode of transport available. You say we have 108 ambulance service. So all that he can do is through his mobile phone connect to that 108. The ambulance will come to his doorstep, and ambulance will take him to the particular hospital which uh, the urban local body or the state government has assigned for treatment.
Fine. So before I move to the same question with the same thread, audience, you can start writing the questions. I have already got one from Ram Athavlaji. Rest you can start writing in the chat section. So you said one thing that the people need to be tech savvy, because
Yeah.
the aim of the smart cities are fantastic. You are giving certain information ready at hand. There will be fantastic user interface, but people can only avail it if they can utilize that and if they can use those information,
Yes.
right? Like for example, if you're talking about beds and all, so now beds and all information will not be coming proactively unless and until somebody go to the dashboard and search. So if in this situation, if I see there is a need of reskilling and upskilling, so everybody is not
Yes.
aware, unfortunately. Apart from the youth
Yes.
generation, if you
Yeah.
go to the top of the ladder in terms of age, gradually the understanding and the users level of the technology is getting reduced.
Right.
And when you are talking about these, these information, that information, and we need to do that. If I talk about in that way, it's nothing but a more like of a SOP. That if I have this problem, I need to do this. You have to do that. I need to go that, right? So how do you see that for India 2.0? This reskilling or probably the upskilling is possible. And when you on one side you also talked about the scalability of the challenge, right? So how to
Yes.
go ahead with that? How to tackle this?
Uh, you fortunately, you see, in India, the number of people having smartphones is quite high, and even a slum dweller or even economically weaker section person is using mobile now, and no one taught him how to text a message or how to use WhatsApp. On their own, they learned. Most of the people on their own, they learned how to use mobile phone to their advantage. So WhatsApp they are using. They have several apps. Even for digital payment, they are using various apps like UPI and Paytm and other apps available. So people, you rightly said, keep upskilling is required, but people have some inherent skills and they learn some things. You say necessity is the mother of everything. So people on their own learn something. They have started learning. When they were asked to submit online application for e-pass, take example of e-pass for traveling between two cities or two districts or two states. They were asked to submit application online, and people used it. They might have taken help of some other persons, but that e-pass system is working fine here. Same like that Arogya Setu app is providing detailed and complete information to people on day-to-day basis. So technology has really brought people together, brought people closer, and almost this information communication technology has reduced the level of illiteracy to such an extent that a person might be illiterate, but still he can use a mobile phone, a smartphone, very handsomely.
That is correct. But the challenge is, Ramnathji, if the people are more going to be tech savvy, which is a fantastic
Yes.
thing, or
Yes.
probably the expectation is. But we hardly know how to rightly use the smartphone. Because
Yes.
youngsters typically still in a better position, but when I talk about the UPI, or I talk about the NEFT payment or RTGS, something like
Yes.
that, right? The banking and application is quite tough for the old age people. When they are also supposed to use these, and in fact, one of the session with Brijesh Singh, who is the IG of Mumbai Police, we were
Right.
talking about the new crime model post 19, right? Everybody using technology. So
Yes.
somewhere one side we are asking people to use technology, another side they will be more kind of prone to the risk and the attacks. How to
Yes.
have a balance on that?
Yeah, you see, it is bound to happen. It is for everything. Take example of automobile sector. When you travel in a vehicle, is there not a chance of accident? It is. So you still take the risk of traveling, and you still want faster mode of travel. Like that, you see, here in case of ICT also, there are security issues, there are privacy issues. Law will take care of it. Technology will take care of it. Now, better technologies are available. So, you see, uh, when we talk about cyber crime, the people engaged in cyber crime, they are ahead of the people who develop solutions. No doubt, their brains, the destructive brain works faster than the constructive brain. That is a bottom line. But even then, whenever destructive brains do something, there are constructive brains, there are constructive people who immediately find solution to it. So we need not worry. The citizens need not worry about cyber crime. The citizens need not worry about frauds being frauds happening right now. They need not worry. There will be solution to every problem. So security issue will also be taken care, is already being taken care of. So people need not worry about it. They should use technology.
So in that case, where do you see the opportunities? Because you have been talking, you have been seeing different types of technologies which is being utilized. You have also seen, of course, the situation right now got changed in terms of the global dynamics. We are more thinking on the indigenous technologies and all. So where do you see in terms of, because smart cities will require smart solution,
Yes.
and no better than the young generation can come out with the innovative solution. So where do you see
Yes.
the scope of where the Indian startups can come out with some different innovative concepts?
Yes.
Probably something can be through Niti Aayog, something can be through schools, something from the colleges and all, because there we all are pushing the next generation for these innovative things, for the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So
Yes.
where do you see the scopes where we can actually, probably some challenges areas if you can give? These are the still the challenges areas where people can come out with solution, but just few areas where we are using technology, but unfortunately that is not available in India. We are importing, but probably there
Yes.
is a scope, some clarity.
Yeah. You see, most of the electronic gadgets are imported in India. So for startups, they have the opportunity to manufacture those smaller parts and assemble. So to find out intelligent solutions to depend less on import of spare parts required for any electronic gadget, manufacture those spare parts here. That is one. In a hardware sector, networking sector, they have the opportunity of manufacturing the hardware that is required, the network that is required. At the same time, in software section, they have the opportunity of developing some solutions, some apps, some solutions. So they have the opportunity. And most important, whatever system is there right now, or whatever is being installed, even if the equipments are imported, it is to be operated and managed by the local people. So startups will also have opportunity of providing services, because local bodies do not have the manpower available, the trained manpower available. So herein, the private sector can rope in. Local bodies will depend upon private sector. They will outsource the work of operation maintenance to the private sector. So startups have opportunities in all these three sectors. Number one, manufacturing of parts required, electronic gadgets required for electronic gadgets. Number, that is hardware required. Number two, the networking equipments which are required, because today we depend upon Cisco and other agencies. So we import everything. So that can also be manufactured here. Number three, applications can be developed by the startups. And number four, operation maintenance services can also be provided by the startups. Am I clear?
Yeah. From a kind of from the Atmanirbhar Bharat, I'm just taking one more clue. You gave this infra and all.
Yeah.
Some specific example where you have used certain technology which is imported versus certain so infra, if I talk about, is a vast thing. If you talk about security, it's a very vast thing. So we are talking more on the macro side of it. But if you can give certain, like for example, if I'm a school student and if I'm hearing this kind of your interview, so I'll be having more clarity on the smart cities. I'll be having more clarity how smart cities can become with the indigenous solution. But it will be fantastic if we get certain specific clue that these are the kind of actual solutions.
Take example of the Arogya Setu app. It is developed here only, or various other platforms available right now. You see, the government of India has come out with data policy. State governments have come out with data policy. The cities also have to adopt their own data policy. And then you say earlier, it was closed data policy. Now it is open data policy. Open source codes are used. So when open source codes are being used, every person who feels that he has the caliber, he has the talent, he can actually come in and provide his service.
Okay. I'll be moving slightly towards one of the.
I am not a technical person.
No,
I don't know whether I have answered your question correctly or not. But all that I believe is, with open source codes, every person, every Indian citizen who believes in technology and who has the ability to use technology constructively can come up with his own solution.
Fine, no problem. I think it's fair enough. So I'll be moving towards a question which where we are working not only smart cities, we're also working in the water part, right?
Yeah, water.
So for any development, now water and the waste management are the prime elements.
Right.
And if we talk about the experts, they always say the smart water is going to be the key building block of the smart cities.
Yes.
So what will be the smart water solution for the smart cities, which currently we are lagging in?
You see, the cities have their own water supply schemes, but the schemes are not properly managed. They have their sewage treatment plants, but sewage treatment plants are also not properly managed. So we have installed a system, but it is not properly managed. We have a water distribution network, but it is quite old. It is inadequate. So here in technology can play a vital role. You see, most of our urban areas face water scarcity problem, not because adequate water is not available. It is only because water distribution networks are quite old. There are transmission losses, leakages, and thefts. So if you have to detect a leakage or theft of water, or if we have to reduce the losses of water, if we have to ensure equitable distribution of water, we can use smart technologies like SCADA systems. So you can install pressure gauge meters on a system to find out the pressure. You can install meters to measure the quantity of water that is supplied. You can install electronic gadgets to even find out the quality of water that is being supplied. So in water sector, both water and wastewater sector, there is tremendous scope for using the information communication technology. SCADA, LoRa, these are the technologies which are being used right now.
Great. For my next question, again, which is related to what you have done already. So you have handled the municipal corporations, you have seen the granular level details, you are working on the smart city, you are working on the waters, right? So just to give you a reference, right now, Sapio is already helping different governments with the granular level details. Okay?
Right.
But right now, if I see, still there are a lot of areas where government is struggling, and government really needs certain granular level details. If I talk about bringing things on the normalcy in terms of the public transport or the private transport, or if I talk about the supply chain management and all. So what will be your key views and advice for this?
You see, whenever any technology service provider offers some technology, the decision maker wants a proof of concept. The decision maker will accept the solution that you are suggesting only when he sees that it is successfully implemented somewhere else. In government setup, you see, it's very funny. So people accept the things only when they feel that it is safe for them to take a decision to accept it. So what they look for is always, whenever any new technology is introduced, they look towards Europe, America, other Asian countries, and to find out whether that technology is really successfully working there. If it is working successfully, then they easily accept it. Otherwise, if it is altogether a new technology, they will always ask you to show that how it is going to transform the present system. And if it is affordable, if the technology is affordable, if the technology is reliable, then they will easily accept it.
Got it. On the similar line with the water resource and all, I have a very interesting question from Colonel Dr. Ram Athawale. So he is asking, future threats to safety like CBRN threats need to be factored into smart city paradigm. Has it been considered?
Future threats. Can you elaborate what kind of threats? You say, like, COVID is a threat.
Sure. Can I elaborate?
Sure.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah. Hello, sir. I'm Colonel Ram Athawale. I'm a specialist in chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear security, and therefore my question is focused on that. That are our water supply systems, because now
Yes.
you mentioned that there would be sensors, there could be use of IT and smart
Yeah.
technologies to
Right.
gauge the quality of water.
Yes.
So, is there some program which is being considered, whether to protect our water bodies from illegal poisoning or deliberate threat from terrorist organizations to contaminate water bodies to cause problems in the cities? Is there some kind of a program in view, or can it be scaled up, your smart city concept, to include these kind of safety measures and security measures?
Honestly speaking, no city has ever taken initiatives to ensure this. All that we rely upon is deployment of manpower to guard our water bodies. No city has installed CCTV surveillance cameras to monitor whether any person comes and poisons water or that kind of things. Surveillance system is not installed. Only we have certain devices by which we can measure the quantity and quality of water.
So thank you for that clarification. So there is a vulnerability which exists, and I think
it
we
exists.
need to sensitize the government to and the municipal bodies to address this particular vulnerability.
Right. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think there is an opportunity because this is a big
Yes.
area where the threats can happen.
Yeah.
So in terms of the governance and the structure, I find probably the way Sapio is working. So Ramji, Ashin, you are already there. Probably one of the area where Sapio can think about this kind of SOPs or probably certain structure. So it's on the same line. I have another interesting question from another participant, Prasant Nikam. Prasant is asking, is the post-COVID world, would there be a need for upgradation or smart city integrated command and control center? If yes, in what way?
You see, post-COVID, if at all there is a need for upgradation and improvement, it is in health sector and education and medical education sector. But in health and medical education sector, again, ICT is going to play a vital role. As you see, I think he has in mind, post-COVID, can we have better health facilities? So the answer is obviously yes. We need to improve our health infrastructure. Take example of COVID again. You see, treatment of a COVID patient is the most difficult thing. There is every chance that a person who is treating, the nurse or the doctor who is treating the patient, they are getting infected. So in order to avoid that kind of threat, this technology can really play a vital role. And such kind of now we have already started surgical interventions through robots. So for treatment of a very severe COVID patient, we can also think of such kind of technology wherein the personal interaction, face-to-face interaction is reduced with the help of technology. So I won't be surprised in future if at all there is any virus which is more dangerous than the COVID. Human beings will refuse to treat the patients and the robots will have to treat the patients.
It's a brilliant suggestion. Probably we may 50 years down the line. We can help.
If the virus is dangerous than COVID, then this will have to be done.
From the security side, Ram Athavla ji has another question which he has written in the chat section. In the talk, you mentioned about the inputs from cameras and other sensors around the city, which will be monitored at a central control station or the police or the. Have this central control station been set up?
Command control centers have been set up. In Maharashtra, you have command control center in Mumbai, in Nagpur, Nagpur, we have developed with the help of L&T as our system integrator. And in India, out of 100 smart cities, more than 50 cities have command control centers now. And rest of the cities, they are in a process of developing command control centers. For example, Pimpri Chinchwad is developing. Pune has already developed.
So do they also cater for the security and safety related matters?
Yes,
The
yes,
urban disasters?
Yes, both. They function as one disaster management center.
I would be asking again, very similar thread what I was asking initially. But what my understanding is after the whole conversation, the concept of the smart city is fantastic. But the major roadblock, if I take the grasp of the things, it's not the technology and all, because end of the day, either this technology or that technology will come whether from India or outside. I find the major roadblock is coming to the Indian people, the mindset.
No, fortunately, the mindset has changed a lot, and people have accepted technology. It has become part and parcel of our lives now. And here again, I often quote one thing. Now, take example of your mobile phone. If you do not carry your mobile phone in your hand while walking, you feel that you are imbalanced. So it has become almost like a part of your body. So what else is required? Dependency on technology is to such an extent that you feel uneasy if you don't have that gadget in your hand. So I will not blame the mindset. The only thing is, it will take some time. This kind of revolution, this kind of change will not happen overnight. It will take some time. But in case of India, I see the changes are happening really at a faster pace as compared to other parts of the world.
So now I'll be going slightly in depth because we are talking about the smart cities. But if I say city versus the rural areas, the number of rural areas are more than the cities.
Yes.
If I do not uplift the bottom of the pyramid or the rural
Yes.
side of it, so India cannot become India 2.0 or Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Yes.
How will you cater to the rural segment of it?
We have already, you see, along with smart cities, we have already started talking about, the government has already started talking about smart villages. And again, smart village again means where there is smart infrastructure and where there is IT infrastructure available. So it has to be properly provided, and the initiatives have already been taken. But again, as I say, this entire process is a continuous process, and it will take, say, near about 10 years. 10 years down the line, you will see that even in rural areas also, people will not virtually have to go to a bank. They will operate through their mobile phones from their homes only. That is happening right now. Even the farmer is submitting his online application. The farmer doesn't have to go to bank now for opening the account or withdrawal of money or deposit of money.
It's definitely
it's a positive thing. It is happening. But total transformation, when we see, total transformation will take a lot of time.
Agreed. So I think we have covered almost all the questions, including the audience also. What will be your expectation? Because as I am mentioning again, young generations, the school kids, the college kids are also going to watch this recording. What will be your key message for them? What will be your key expectation from the young generation or the smart thinkers?
You see, the present generation is lucky enough, actually, they have everything available. The platform is ready for launching. All that they need to do is to ensure that they use the technology for constructive purposes. That is the only worry that I have, or that is the only message. Okay, young generation should rely upon technology, but too much dependency upon technology will also be detrimental, will also be harmful. So depend upon the technology which is reliable, more secure, and affordable.
Yes, unfortunately, that is happening. I see even the schools, after the kids get an exposure of the calculator, they start forgetting in the mental math.
Yes. My kids, even the same thing is happening with us. Earlier, I used to remember hundreds of phone numbers of my friend without any directory. Today, I don't even remember my son's mobile number or my wife's mobile number.
Great. I think that's a fantastic discussion. I hope you enjoyed it. We covered a lot in terms of the technicality, but thank you for making it so simple. I'm getting some response in the chat section also for this wonderful session we had. Probably we can have some panel discussion in future when this from the administrative side of the smart city versus the kind of technology side and the security side. One of the panel discussion we can think of in future, and we'll be talking offline how we can structure it out. But I hope you enjoyed the discussion.
I will be really happy to know the feedback.
Sure.
Actually, I'll be happy to know about the feedback received from the audience as well as the feedback received in future.
Sure. Already the feedback has started pouring in. Ramji has already given that interesting and insightful indeed. Thank you, Dr. Sonawane, for an enriching session straight from the heart. Your passion from building and involvement with smart city initiatives is quite evident and commendable. Thank you, sir. So it's already started. We'll be definitely collating the feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Athavale. Is Colonel Narula on?
He's there.
Yes, sir. I'm there, sir. Thank
Colonel,
you so much.
Colonel Narula, I hope whatever I spoke makes some sense.
Yes, sir. It made a lot of sense. That's what Colonel Ram is saying, that it is so insightful because it comes from the heart, and you have done a hands-on work in smart city. A lot of, theoretical articles, scholarly articles, and lot of books have been written. But person coming straight from a person who was on the ground, facing the challenges, and then responding to them. So that's how we understood, it is not that rosy a picture which everybody paints.
Yes,
and
it is not.
Will become smart. It takes a time for adoption of the technology at every level, whether it is a young entrepreneur, a youth, or an old man who's sitting at home in COVID and he's looking at his Arogya Setu app कि मेरे आसपास कितने लोगों को COVID है. So technology is making a big difference. You are right, sir.
It is, yes.
So thank you so much for a wonderful session. And it would be very nice and it would be an honor to be in touch with you on many other issues.
Yeah. Please be in touch.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be happy. Yeah. Thank you.
Stay safe.
Good.
Thank you for your time, Ramnathji. For the audience,
yes.
Keep in touch. Stay tuned. We have some brilliant and surprising session on next Saturday. So notified on that.
And, may I leave now? May I leave?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.